Welcome back to the channel. Today is Yukon building day. So I got a load of parts here. Brakes and power steering pumps and suspension and power steering coolers. So we want to leave it because, we'll adjust this a little bit. So we want to leave it because it's going to be a gambler. We'll leave some sketchy elements on it, but because it's going to eventually be a daily driver after the gambler, we're going to do more stuff to it. So I'm at least going to get it so it stops safely. I was just going to do pads and rotors, but if I'm going to do all that, all the calipers look pretty rusty, and we have a theory that one of the rear calipers might be seized up. So I'm going to do calipers, pads, rotors all the way around, just so it stops safe. But first today, we're going to do power steering pump, power steering lines, and power steering cooler. So that way we have steering, then we'll move on to the brakes, then we'll do suspension. And then, a little tease, went to Discount Tire this morning, got some general grabbers mounted up on the Steelies. So, let the Yukon building begin. All right, got her up, lifted. So we're gonna do that there power steering pump down there, and that nice rusty power steering cooler in there. So let's get to work. All right, first time using the pulley puller, so let's see how this goes. All right, we just gotta take our time. Got it mounted on there. Let's slowly take that pulley off. Boy, that's really on there. There we go. Success. Whew. That's an old rusty pulley. Okay, now we continue. All right, before we go any further, power steering pump, since we're doing this cooler too, and I got to disconnect these lines from this cooler, I'm gonna go ahead and do those now so that fluid can drip out and we'll get that thing out of there. Give us a little bit more room to work on the pump. pump is out. So pretty much had to take out that whole mounting bracket for the alternator and whatnot, but that's leaning on one very fragile little wire. So I'm gonna try and suspend that with a bungee if I can real quick. Bungee too. Alright, so now we have our nice, brand new power steering cooler. Put it new power steering coolers in. Okay, so now it's time to put the new power steering pump in. So we got the old power steering pump out, and I got it on the vise over here because we got to transfer some brackets. But on these, they had this old OVE switch that has a little sensor that plugs into it. And on the new pumps, it's actually a TSP from GM. They don't have one of those. So what you have to install is a little, they call it a tube or a valve or whatever, to get the new power steering line on. So I'm going to transfer all that, and then we will get the pump back in the car, get everything up here in the front buttoned up, then we'll move on to brakes and suspension. I think that's the wrong fucking pump. It is. Oh boy. Well, that just created a lot more work. Wrong pump. Motherfucker. Well, at least I'm getting proficient on yanking it out of here and such. Okay, quick explanation on the power steering pump. Ordered the wrong pump, put it in the truck, didn't realize it was the wrong pump. It had one extra fluid line coming out of it that my original pump did not have. So in order to not waste time that weekend, I just continued working on the truck. So you'll see later in the video, we finally get the right power steering pump in there. But I forgot to record this explanation while I was working because it just was trying to hammer it out and get it all done. So on with the video. Okay, now it's torsion key time. So I'm going to get under the car and get the old torsion keys out. I'm going to use this torsion key puller tool and just slowly start cranking and we'll get both of those out of there. Then we have our new fancy Suspension Max torsion keys, which will give it about a 2-inch lift. Okay, so nothing doing with the torsion keys, so I went to Harbor Freight and got big air hammer. So this is how the Suspension Max people who make the torsion key lift recommend, is just get the biggest, baddest air hammer you can find and just hit them hard. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, day 3, Yukon build. So yesterday, spent all day trying to get torsion keys out, not successfully. So I'm just gonna put that on the back burner. I'm gonna take it to either Fred or one of my buddy's shops and get it up on a lift where we can hit it with a big hammer, get heat on it. The driver's side, the fuel line runs right near where the torsion key is. So just a bit nervous doing that by myself. So today, brakes and suspension, we'll do everything else other than the torsion keys. So we'll do shocks, springs, and new brakes, calipers, pads, rotors, all the way around. So that's what we're going to get into today. Try and get as much of this build behind us as we can. Then I'll button up the torsion keys and get those over, like I said, get those over to a shop where I get some help on those and get them done. So let's go. Okay, so getting under here, brakes, you know, pretty rusty. Looks like those sway bar links are kind of on their last legs as well, but we're not going to replace those today. Man, look at that. So we'll get that brake line off. Get this shock out of there. It looks like it might be a little bit of a cut-off wheel or air hammer. We'll get our shiny new shocks and brakes installed. All right, got a torch blade on the Sawzall, so we can get this shock out of here. Oh yeah, way better. There we go. Yeah, look at that thing was toast. Okay, so there's that bottom shock bolt. Problem is, cut that top piece off. There's that ABS sensor right there. And I guess I could unclip it, but I don't want to cut through that. So I think I'm just gonna try and keep cutting that bottom nut off till I can get it out of there. Close. Ooh, gotta be careful, it's right there. Oh man. Man, it's gotta be barely on there. There we go. Okay. All right, and it's out of there. Time to put on our fancy new shock, and then we'll do brakes. And this is what it looks like. So that will go in there. Okay, first shock's in. Now do some brakes. Okay, so dust shield barely on there, all rusted out, but got everything off. So we do need to go get, because this thing's almost stripped, a couple of more caliper mounting bracket bolts. So off to the auto parts store we go. All right, with any project we just keep getting deeper. So I made the call. I mean, that brake hose and fitting is just pretty much toast. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on it here with the wire wheel. If I can get it cleaned up and get it off of there, we'll reuse it. But most likely just gonna do all new brake hoses, because if we're doing all new everything else, why not? So ordered new brake hoses, might send them back, but I'll spend a little bit more time on this. But we'll see what happens. Or we just reuse the calipers we have. That's probably our best option. Okay, so shock in, new brakes on, reused calipers, brake lines. It's just too rusty to get apart. I mean, I have all the parts, we'll redo it one day, but not for the gambler. So we'll get the other side buttoned up, we'll move to the rear. Okay, fronts are buttoned up. Actually did a test fit with new wheels and tires. Those are gonna look awesome. Okay. Well, I can't imagine why the rear brakes are making noise. Might be the original rotors. But we'll get it all apart. We'll get it cleaned up. Actually, the rear calipers are newer, which is great. So we'll get all these brakes out of here. Rear shocks, springs swapped out. And we'll hopefully have all the brakes and suspension other than those damn torsion keys buttoned up by end of today. Okay, so shock is out, brakes are off on passenger side. I'm gonna take and just remove those sway bar end links too, in the hopes I could just droop the axle down and get those springs out fairly easily and just put new sway bar end links on. It's a lesson I learned working on the Lincoln, so I'm hoping it saves me a little bit of time. Let's put some new end links on there. I just ordered some. So now we'll get these brakes apart, this shock out, springs out, sway bar links out, and we'll start rebuilding rear brakes and suspension. Okay, so an idea on the difference. Moog HDs, coils, you know, got about an inch height difference. So I am gonna go ahead, punch that sway bar link out, put these in. Okay, so got sway bar and links disconnected, and you can see both springs are installed. So now with your shocks, brakes, I want to try and bang on those torsion keys a little bit more if I can get everything buttoned up and I'm still feeling scrappy. Otherwise, we'll finish with brakes and suspension today. Get the car, power steering pump and everything reinstalled on Tuesday. I did end up ordering the wrong power steering pump, so that's all got to come back out. Put the new power steering pump in, get the engine compartment, everything all buttoned back up, get it running and driving again, get it down to Fred's, get the torsion keys finally done, and then wheels and tires installed and we'll be gambling. Okay, full weekend of thrashing, and here's where we're at. Suspension and brakes, done. Rear springs, shocks, brakes in, both sides. Front, shocks, brakes, in, done, ready. You know, we got a power steering pump out of the wrong pump. New one will be here on Tuesday, the right one. We'll get this all buttoned back up. Okay, FedEx came early this morning. Got the new correct power steering pump in. So just working on getting everything buttoned up, getting this mounting bracket bolted back up. Get all these bolts started and we'll tighten everything up. Pulley back on, fan shroud, fan. Power steering lines, cooler lines, get everything going. Also draining all the coolant out of it, just going to do a full coolant flush and refill on it. Then we'll get the torsion keys bolted back up, get wheels and tires on, and we're off down the road to Fred's house, get up in a lift, finally finish up those torsion keys. Then really just all we gotta do is a window regulator and we'll be ready to go. Alright, let's get these torsion keys done. That thing's cool.
It is a yacht. That's a Jeepster, which is,
What is it?
it's a Jeepster, which is actually Willys Overland. So it's made by the same company that made the Jeeps, and they make cars too. It's a 40, I think it's a 48.
That's cool.
But I mean, it's a car. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not four-wheel drive. In fact, this is one of the better ones because it's got the 6-cylinder. It's got a flat head 6-cylinder.
Nice.
Most of them are 4-cylinder dogs.
Very cool.
You want a light?
So you can see this one, it's already loose up there.
Yeah,
So I made a little bit of progress, but laying on your fucking back on the driveway is not the easiest, as you are keenly aware. Toast that bushing.
Yeah, you have to be careful there for sure. That control arm bushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then this cross member is so flimsy, Lane.
Yeah, no. I wonder if almost just
Drop it.
yeah.
Well, but you can't because you can only go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was out in the front, you could, you
But
still,
that would buy us
a little bit, sure.
half an inch. It's probably not.
Look how flimsy that is.
Oh yeah.
Because it doesn't have to have any, well, it's in the mount too.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to have any strength.
So I'm wondering if you just shoot the shit out of this and just hit it with that sledgehammer.
The problem is you can't hit that. you gotta, like you said, you gotta hit the torsion bar. You can't do anything with this.
Yeah.
You gotta hit this.
So everyone I've seen on the air say just heat the shit out of this and hit it with a sledgehammer.
But you got a bushing here too.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, see, there's so much movement. You know, this is flexion. You got the rubber mount. It just, you know, it's taking up a lot of the impact.
Yeah.
Woo! I got a bigger sledge.
Let's try that.
Longer?
Yes. All right. Yeah. Yeah, baby. One down. And that one's already loose in the front, so we just got to get that pork chop loose.
Holy shit. Well, heat her up.
Here we go.
That's what we got to do.
Hard part's done.
Yeah, no shit. Oh, wow. Woo.
Thank you. Could not have done that on the ground. What's this, really?
Try that on the shaft before you put it together. Just hang in there. Just see how it slides on. It was pretty tight before. Okay, perfect. I just knocked it.
Nice.
So now I would grease those.
Yeah, let's yeah.
I'm not doing anti-seize.
Well, yeah, just grease is fine.
I just use Woodbury grease. Michigan, you cannot use enough grease.
Grease everything.
I grease my bleeder screws, all that stuff, and it pays off.
Oh yeah?
You know, because some of these trucks have been taken care of over 30 years.
Oh yeah. So we want this more down when we put it in, right? Because it's going to go like that. It'll lift it.
Yeah, I would say there's probably only one way it can go in. You know, within reason.
Fuck, it slid on there before. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so this, yeah, that's what you want it.
Okay. Now just put the tool.
Yeah, because I can't get up to the...
Where did the cross member tool go? All right.
Why don't you pull your blanket out of it so I don't get grease all over it.
Okay. Okay, so it's Friday. Gambler is tomorrow. And we're almost done. Lift kit's on. Truck looks so good. Couldn't have done it without Fred's help and the lift. But now we gotta get that roof rack mounted up there. And it has the brackets on it, but it doesn't have the lower mounting brackets. So we're gonna went to Home Depot and got some, it's got these mounting brackets, but there's no lower bracket. So we gotta, essentially, just went to Home Depot and got some black rubber bungee cords. It's gonna cut holes in those the same length as those, those and just put some galvanized screws through it, and that'll be our lower roof rack mount. So let's cut up some bungees. All right, roof rack is on. Our new makeshift bungee cord lower mounts worked very nicely. I mean, it moves a little bit, but it's not going anywhere. So now, oil change, side step cut off, we'll be good to go.